House of Representatives moves to reposition Nigeria Customs Service for optimum productivity. House to investigate 2.6 trillion naira indebtedness to the federal government. And President Muhammadu Buhari transmits Finance Bill 2021 to the House of Representatives for consideration and passage. Hello, it's a pleasure to know you've been waiting to join us on You and Your Reps. I am Victor, as welcome to the program. The House of Representatives has commenced holistic amendments of the Nigeria Customs Service Management Act in view of its significance to the country's fiscal and national policy development. The bill seeks more revenue generation to fund critical projects for economic development. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The proposed amendments to the Nigeria Customs Service Management Act, as highlighted by the sponsor of the bill, Representative Leke Abejide, is to reposition the service in terms of capacity to generate more revenue, provision of logistics, implementation of the section of Finance Act that deals with collection of levies on carbonated drinks, and provision of legislative input in the appointments of the Controller General, as is the case with the service chiefs. The bill passed second reading with 4 others. House members adopted a motion from Representative Dachum Bagos urging authorities to scale up strategies to prevent emergence and spread of COVID-19 variants like Omicron.
It has become very, very necessary for Nigeria to activate response, to look into the issue of Omicron, which is a new variant that is very deadly.
Also adopted was the motion from the Minority Leader Ndudi Elumelu, calling for the restoration of electricity supply in parts of Delta State that have been without light for close to 20 years.
As a result of the dilapidation of 33 kVA line, the electricity supply was cut off in Enua and Iklan and other communities nearby, thereby leaving the entire community in perpetual darkness.
The House has passed a resolution urging the federal government to deploy adequate security to parts of Niger State to protect lives and national assets from bandits, as moved by Jafar Mohammed, just as it urged the extension of the Lagos-Kano standard gauge rail line to parts of Oyo State, as raised by Muraino Ajibola.
The Sanusi railway station in Oyo State, which serves as a gateway between the northwest and the southwest of Nigeria, holds enormous agricultural potentials for the country.
Plenary featured first reading of 13 bills.
A report said to have emanated from the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NATI, alleges that oil and gas companies owe the federal government more than 2.6 trillion naira. Now, this caused a stir at the House of Representatives, prompting it to launch an investigation.
The decision to launch an investigation, which the House titled an ad hoc committee to handle, is to enable it to identify companies involved, the actual amounts after accounts reconciliation, and ensure that monies recovered are channeled to fund the budget. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, and NATI are to provide necessary data to the committee.
2.6 trillion is a lot.
Also to be investigated by a separate committee is the inventory of assets and liabilities of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) after its conversion to a limited company to ensure legitimate transition, as raised by Isiaka Yokunle.
To boost investors' confidence and enhance transparency and efficiency in the supply chain management of the newly established NNPC Limited.
The 2 matters on security from Ifeanyi Murma, urging the relocation of a checkpoint at Ihiala, Anambra State, and the motion from Taiwo Oluga stressing the need to put in place security measures in schools were adopted.
On Saturday, the 30th day of May 2020, a police makeshift road blockage was the cause of a fatal accident at Ihiala, which led to the death of the trailer driver and his conductor, as well as over 10 bus passengers.
The House also appreciates the federal government's intervention in school feeding program. However, there is an urgent need to provide adequate security in schools in the country to ensure the safety of the school.
Representative Simon Elisha was also supported by the House in his appeal to authorities to connect parts of Gombe State to the national electricity grid. Plenary featured the second reading of 5 bills seeking the establishment of tertiary institutions and a bill to establish Chartered Institute of Emergency, Crisis and Disaster Risk Management, sponsored by Representative Abubakar Fulata and 4 other members. The House has adopted the report on the bill seeking to establish Nigeria Postal Services Commission as submitted by the House Committee on Telecommunications.
And President Muhammadu Buhari has transmitted to the House of Representatives the Finance Bill 2021 for consideration and passage. The bill contains provisions to support implementation of the 2022 budget.
The President's communication was read by the Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila at the commencement of plenary. It contains highlights of the Finance Bill, in particular the coordination, administration and enforcement of tax reforms by the Federal Inland Revenue Service and other fiscal provisions.
I trust that the bill will be favorably considered by the National Assembly for passage into law so that it may provide fiscal support necessary for the implementation of the 2022 federal budget.
A bill to establish Material Standard Agency seeking to address building collapse passed second reading.
The matric course is the use of substandard materials.
This bill is fundamentally in conflict with the provisions of Standard Organization of Nigeria.
If the buildings of Nigerians are collapsing and killing people, they are not doing their job.
The problem of building collapse in Nigeria has become so endemic.
People are pointing fingers at the level of supervision. And none of us know that as we speak today, the Standard Organization of Nigeria, they are doing their best, but they are maybe overwhelmed.
Also passed at second reading is the bill to establish Federal Medical Center to Bauchi State, sponsored by Muda Lawal. A bill to establish Federal College of Horticulture, Okigwe, Imo State, sponsored by Miriam Onoha, and a bill seeking the change of name of Federal Polytechnic Afikpo to Akanwi Biam Federal Polytechnic, sponsored by Chinedu Oga. Meanwhile, the House, in response to a motion from Lekia Abejide, has passed a resolution to invite the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for a brief on the cost implication of direct primaries as provided in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill recently submitted to the President for assent.
People have been saying that it will go up 500 billion. But this is just mere say. Nobody has ever sat down to check the actual cost it's going to cost the nation.
House members also resolved to investigate alleged corruption and nominal roles of ministries, departments and agencies of government as raised by Dachung Bagos. In another development, House Leader Al-Hassan Ado Dogwa has, while hosting Nigeria Forum of Councillors, Gombe State, stressed the importance of building democracy from the grassroots to make it enduring.
Now, prayers are often linked to religious worship, but in the House of Representatives, in addition to that, prayers mean something else. Let's find out from the Chairman, Rules and Business Committee, Abubakar Fulata.
In our legislative practice, we have 2 types of prayers. The first is religious prayer. Before we commence sitting, normally we say our prayers seeking God's guidance to do our legislative jobs in such a way that we should always act in the interests of Nigerians. So we always pray before the commencement of any legislative activity. The second one is the prayer contained in the body of emotion. Whenever a member is moving a motion, whether it is a motion on notice or it is a motion on urgent national importance that are not scheduled they are not on notice. They are moved by the discretion of the presiding officer, or which is normally the speaker. So whenever you move a motion, it will be followed by a request. Those requests that follow the end of every motion are what you call prayers. Those prayers can be amended. They can also be approved as presented. So we have two types of prayers, the religious ones and the ones that accompany the body of the motion.
Attacks on schools leading to abduction of students has continued to generate concerns. On the floor of the House of Representatives, a motion on the need to take security measures in federal government and private schools across the country was moved by Taiwo Oluga, the member who represents Ayedade Irewole Ishokon Federal Constituency of Osun State, wants all actors in the basic education subsector to take responsibility and save the schools.
The role of every government is to see to the security of lives and property. Lives first, if you check it. When you put it on an average, we're not doing well as a country. So calling on federal government to look into it, what can be done as a matter of urgency. In fact, the motion is supposed to have come under public urgent importance. But all the same, so we're calling on the federal government, we're calling on the Ministry of Education, the Minister Adamu and the Minister for State, that they should revisit it and make sure that the little time that we're going to have the break to shut down for the year, while returning year 2022, we should make sure that we might have fortified all our schools. There must be some gadgets, some technologies that will be put in place so that these children will know, even if some bandits are coming to attack them, the teachers should have it, the headmaster, the principal, and so on, as even the communities around the schools, they should be, and the association should be called to meeting. We have parent-teachers associations. I believe all this, the ministry should look into it from the federal government down to the state to the local government level so that we can work hand in hand. There should be synergy for us to get over this menace. And if you go down, look at the budget line, even for education in the 2022 proposed appropriation bill, you find out that are we truly sincere to ourselves? Are we truly working towards having a conducive environment for our pupils? Are we really legislating to see that these children, now the agencies have come, they have defended their budget, they have done this and that, and before you know it, the final copy will be out. I think the little time, about 10 days or 14 days for this assembly to wind down for 2021, can still do something.
Recently, the House of Representatives called on security agencies to do more with regards to insecurity in different parts of the country. So we went to town to ask Nigerians if that suffices or if there's more that the House can do to help. Here's what we got.
The major functions of National Assembly is to enact law, enabling law, to aid the government for them to be able to tackle insecurity. And, there are these issues of this state police and some other things the other time. I think I'm one of the advocates of such state police. And to some extent, if to say we are able to take that security system to the locals, I think everything will go down to a very reasonable extent.
Security is everybody's business, and government should try to see what they can do to arrest the situation.
They know where they are coming from, and they know where they are. They're supposed to call their village heads, their kings, and everybody, address these issues. You understand? Because whatever is affecting people in the village will also affect them.
They should ask questions. Other advanced countries go and make research, make investigations, how they conquer their own security problem, then they should do the needful. And after they might have made a start, they should apply whatever result they have gotten from there. One thing is to get result, one thing is to apply it.
The issue of an unemployment should be tackled very, very well, because we check the reference of the youth around the street. So we believe if the government can do something about the youth, most especially, I believe all this will be settled down.
The National Assembly cannot do anything. It is the work of the security agents to curb insecurity.
This week on You and Your Reps, we turn to the House Committee on Rules and Business, one of the special committees of the House. We got the chairman of the committee, Abubakar Flata, to give us an insight into the workings of the committee.
In a nutshell, we are the gatekeepers of the House. The main duties, responsibilities of the House is to make laws and move motions, resolutions for the good governance of Nigeria. It is the responsibility of this committee now to present to the House motions and bills for the consideration and approval. Okay, so all bills and motions are processed. When a member has a bill, he brings it to the committee. The committee now looks at the bill, look at it critically, and then scrutinize that bill in such a manner that the committee will satisfy itself that it is not in contradiction with any section of the Constitution. And that the bill, such a bill, is not also contradicting any existing bill for that matter. It's based on that now the bill will now be cleared and gazetted for presentation for first reading by the House. Upon first reading, the bill will be presented again at another date for second reading. After second reading and debate, such a bill will now be referred to the relevant standing committee of the House. The same goes for motions. If a member has any motion, he presents it to the committee. We'll look at it. Is it good? Is it in the interest of the country, the nation? Is it not based on frivolity? Is it going to divide the nation? We'll scrutinize that motion. If we are satisfied that such a motion, yes, is for the good of the nation, then we allow that motion to be presented. And such a member will be notified that on so date, you will be presenting your motion on so and so. Then such a member will now prepare on the allotted date. He will be now present his motion. Then the question will be put to the House as to whether the motion will be carried or will be negative. If it is in the interest of the members, if member feels that that motion is not worth carrying, then they will vote against the motion, and then that motion is killed. That's all, that automatically. If it is voted, yes, members voted in favor of this, then that's all, to the credit, and then the resolution will be conveyed to the relevant agency or ministry that is in charge of the aspects that the motion addressed. unlike other bills, once the president addresses the National Assembly in a joint session and presents the appropriation bill, and it is considered as first reading, then we now schedule the appropriation bill for second reading. That's when we debate the budget. After debating the budget, it will now be referred to the Committee on Appropriation. Now, at the Committee of Appropriation, all MDAs, all standing committees will now present, those that have business with ministries and administrative departments will now present their bills to the their budgets to the Appropriation Committee. After the Appropriation Committee has finished its work, they will now come, rules and business. We have finished our work. Schedule us to lay our report. Then we schedule the report on the appropriation bill to be laid. Then the chairman of appropriation will now come and lay the report of the appropriation committee. After that, then we also schedule another date for committee of supply to make close by close consideration of the appropriation bill. Then after passage, we now schedule it for third reading. That means it has been passed. We have processed over 1,000 bills, over 600 motions. About 100 bills have been passed at third reading. A number of them have been assented to. And that's all the work of this committee. This is the main committee that does the work of the House. The House, the responsibility of the House is to enact laws and make resolutions. This is the committee that drives that fundamental responsibility. We have done our maximum best, more than what the 8th Assembly has done. Within 2.5 years, we have done what the 8th Assembly did in 4 years. So I'm very proud of the accomplishments of my committee. All members are required to bring in their motions, their bills to the committee. If it's a bill, by the time the bill goes through first reading, second reading after the debate, and it is referred to the relevant committee, the relevant committee takes over. After the relevant committee has finished its public hearings and certified the law as now ready for presentation to the House, it is returned to the Committee on Rules and Business now. We now schedule it for Committee of the Whole for close-by-close consideration. Then the Committee of the Whole, which is a committee of everybody in the House, will now look at the bill close by close and then pass it for third reading. After third reading, that's the end of our assignment. It is now conveyed to Senate for concurrence. After concurrence, it will now be conveyed to Mr. President for assent. If it is the Senate that initiated the bill, after passing at third reading, it will now be presented to the House of Representatives for concurrence. If, for example, the House was not able to concur, that's the end of or if there are differences, then a conference committee will now be set up, comprising equal number of the two chambers. The conference committee will now come up with a fixed position, which will now be adopted automatically by the two chambers as their corrective position of the National Assembly. Then the bill will now be sent for assent. Members do appreciate us. Members are very, very happy with us. But there are also members who may not be happy with us. If, for example, your motion, we have, due to time constraint, due to a lot of we've not been able to process all the bills that ought to have been processed. All motions, there are motions that up to now have not been processed. Members whose motions or bills have not been processed following the queue, our rules provide that first come, first serve. So we have a lot of bills on queue. So some members may not be happy that they have not been, able to process their bills as they would have wanted. There are also members whose motions have been outrightly rejected because allowing the motion will bring in a lot of confusion, a lot of problems. So we normally, when we reject a motion, we tell you why we are rejecting your motion. If it's going to, we are here for the peace and good governance of Nigeria. If a motion will bring discord and confusion onto the polity, we don't allow it, and we're going to, I will tell you right away that their motion will not be allowed. If you don't have a motion, or you don't have bill, that's our job. We don't have any business with you. You're a bench woman. So we don't have a business with anybody who doesn't have any bill or any motion.
Legislative business is serious business, don't you think? Well, this is where we leave it on you and your reps for this week. Thanks for watching. I am Victor Azu. Join us again.